You know the feeling, right? It's the final shot, the big exam, that crucial presentation. Everything's on the line, and you totally blow it. It's one of the worst feelings. So, what's going on? Why does our brain betray us right when we need it most? Well, today we're going to dig into the science of choking under pressure, and more importantly, what you can actually do about it.
To really see how high the stakes can get, you have to hear the unbelievable story of U.S. shooter Matthew Emmons. It's 2004 at the Olympics. He's literally one shot away from a gold medal. He fires a perfect shot, only it was at the wrong target. Can you imagine? He went from first to eighth place, just like that. But wait, it gets crazier. 4 years later in Beijing, it happens again. He's got a huge lead, one shot to go, and the shot is a total disaster. Another medal, gone. How on earth does one of the best athletes in the world make the same catastrophic mistake twice?
Now, Emin's story is obviously extreme, but that feeling? Oh, we all know that feeling. Your mind just going completely blank in the middle of a test? Or fumbling your words during a big presentation you practiced 100 times? Yeah, that's not just for Olympians. That feeling of choking under pressure is a deeply, deeply human thing. So, what's really happening inside our brains at that moment? Well, it all comes down to this fascinating paradox. See, the very stress that's supposed to sharpen our focus and get us ready for action can actually become our own worst enemy. Let's get into how that works. To really get this, we have to look at a classic idea in psychology. It's called the Yerkes-Dodson law, and it's been around for over 100 years. It's actually super simple. It basically says that our performance gets better and better as our mental arousal, our alertness and excitement goes up, but only to a certain point. A sweet spot, if you will. Okay, check this out. It's super simple. On the left, you've got low arousal. You're bored, you're checked out, and yeah, your performance is pretty terrible. Then you move into the middle. That's the sweet spot. You're alert, you're engaged, you're in the zone. That's peak performance. But, and this is the key part, look what happens when you go too far to the right. Arousal gets too high and boom, your performance doesn't just dip, it completely falls off a cliff. That inverted U-shape, that's the perfect picture of choking under pressure. So what is happening in our brain when we slide down that other side of the curve? Well, the best way to describe it is this. It's a hijack. Your brain's normal operating system gets completely taken over. And to understand this hijack, you gotta meet the two main characters in this drama. First up, you've got the prefrontal cortex. Just think of this as your brain's calm, cool, collected CEO. It's in the corner office, handling all the high-level stuff, logic, planning, decision-making. And then you've got the amygdala. This thing is the total opposite. It's your brain's ancient, hardwired alarm system. Its only job is to scream, danger, and trigger survival mode. When things are good, the CEO is in charge. But under intense pressure, the amygdala slams the big red panic button. And when it does, it floods your system with stress hormones like cortisol. This chemical storm is like a massive power surge that just trips the main breaker to the CEO's office. Suddenly, your calm, rational prefrontal cortex goes completely offline, gone. Your ability to think clearly just vanishes. Now, here is the most important part. When the CEO is offline, your brain doesn't just stop. No, it switches modes. It shifts from that flexible, goal-directed thinking to rigid, automatic, habit-based behavior. This is exactly why you find yourself repeating old mistakes under pressure. Your brain has literally flipped a switch to autopilot, and it's running old, outdated software instead of thinking on its feet. Okay, so that brain hijack explains what happens. But scientists also have a few different theories about how this hijack actually makes us fail. Let's quickly walk through the three big ones. All right, let's break these down. First up, you have distraction theory. This one's easy. All your worries about failing literally eat up your mental bandwidth, leaving no room for the actual task. That's you blanking on a math problem. Second, there's explicit monitoring. This is the classic case of overthinking. You suddenly start trying to consciously control a skill that should be automatic, like your golf swing, and in doing so, you just completely ruin your rhythm. And finally, you have over-arousal theory, which basically says the physical and mental feeling of being too amped up is enough all by itself to torpedo your performance. So you see, it doesn't matter if you're distracted by worry, overthinking your every move, or just totally overwhelmed by the adrenaline. All three roads lead to the same place, a complete breakdown in communication between your thinking brain and your doing brain. The whole system just short circuits. Okay, that was all the bad news. But here's the good news. Once you understand why this happens, you can start to do something about it.
The science actually gives us some really powerful, concrete strategies to hack this response and take back control. So let's get to the solutions.
All right, strategy number one. And honestly, this one is so simple, it almost feels like cheating. It's called expressive writing. So here's what you do. Before the big event, find a quiet spot and for just 10 minutes, write down everything you're worried about. Just dump all those fears and anxieties onto the page. Then you can literally just throw the paper away. So why does this work? Well, remember that distraction theory? This is how you fight it. You're physically taking all those distracting thoughts out of your head, your working memory, and putting them somewhere else. It's like cleaning off your mental desktop so you have room to actually work.
Strategy number 2 is all about a mental reframe. So you feel your heart pounding, your palms start to sweat, and your first thought is usually, oh no, I'm panicking, right? But what if you just told yourself a different story? Try this one instead. This isn't panic. This is my body gearing up. This is energy I can use. Just that simple switch from seeing stress as a threat to seeing it as a resource can fundamentally change how you perform.
Now, this last strategy might feel a little, well, weird, but it is incredibly powerful. When you feel that stress rising, let's say from a looming deadline, you pause and you force yourself to name 3 things you are grateful for about that deadline. For example, I'm grateful for this deadline because it means I have a good job. Or I'm grateful for this challenge because it's going to help me learn something new. This isn't just fluffy positive thinking. The act of gratitude literally interrupts the stress cycle in your brain and helps bring that rational CEO back online.
So as we start to put all this together, what's the big picture? It turns out the goal isn't to get rid of stress. I mean, that's impossible. The goal is to fundamentally change your relationship with it. And if you remember only one thing from this entire explainer, let it be this. Stress itself is not the enemy. An unmanaged stress response is the enemy. The real power isn't in trying to avoid pressure, it's in learning how to handle your brain's response when that pressure inevitably arrives. Because look, that next moment, that big test, that important meeting, that game-winning shot, it's coming. It's not a question of if you'll feel the pressure, but how you'll choose to meet it. And now, armed with this science, you have the tools not just to survive that pressure, but maybe, just maybe, to actually thrive in it.